In summary, everyone is heading there but hasn't arrived at the destination in the 5th episode of Season 2 of 1923. I realize that seems similar to what has been happening in the last few episodes, where all we have seen thus far is Alex rushing across America to go to her child's father, Spencer racing towards Montana, and Tiana and her team fleeing Marshall Kent. I'm not sure how long they'll just keep running at this point. I suppose it wouldn't be incorrect to presume that, given the fantastic pace of this season, the final confrontation between Whitfield, Banner, and Spencer can only be anticipated in the 7th and 8th episodes. However, according to the episode summary, Tiana, Alex, and Spencer have recently encountered additional difficulties on their individual paths. So let's examine that in more detail right now. In the last episode, Run's horse was able to persuade the ranchers to give them a job and assist them with their stray cattle, in the hopes that they would allow them to remain on their property for as long as they desired. But as soon as Tiana and her father noticed wanted posters of her up on every street corner, they hurried out of town and went for Mexico, where it might not be within the purview of Marshall Kent and Father Renault to pursue them. Kent most likely murders Pete. Pete made the decision to split apart the group in the middle of their trip in order to find some water for the horses. Runs didn't want Pete to separate from the others, though, because he was aware of how hazardous these areas could be. He thought it would be risky to ride by himself since he might get lost, but Pete assured Tiana, his true love, that he would return soon and that he wouldn't go too. In the conclusion of episode 5, Pete saw an animal and began to pursue it, thinking it would take him to a body of water. To his surprise, however, Kent and Renault were already there. They began to pursue Pete after spotting him in the distance while they were watering their horses. Pete fell when his horse stumbled during the chase. Before the screen went dark, he hastily drew his firearm and aimed it at Kent. We heard 3 shots fired in the final scene of 1923 episode 5, and I think 2 of them came from Kent's pistol. Kent was a more proficient marksman than Pete because he was an officer of the law. We have already seen Kent's shooting prowess in earlier episodes when he shot down multiple innocent Native Americans by himself in the middle of the night. To put it briefly, Kent is more likely to survive the altercation than Pete, hence it would be reasonable to believe that Kent murdered Pete during the gunfight. Tiana would now probably have even more motivation to murder these ruthless guys who had robbed her of everything she held dear. They murdered her grandmother, her cousin, and now her beloved. It's clear that Marshal Mamie Fawcett is the only person who could save Kent and Renault. She could apprehend the men before they could face the woman's fury.